Hello, everybody. What is up? I'm Adam. This is Final Boy Status, the podcast. It's been 1 week for you, but I feel a little rusty for some reason. I don't know why. I'm here with two people, my co-hosts. We've got Luke Haueter in the house with us.
I am in a house they bought specifically for me. Adam and Lanson. It was a huge part of this season. Contractually, they were like, Luke has to have a house and he can't leave it.
And we painted it pink.
No.
We painted the lamp pink and the masturbation lotion pink, and there's everything in the background pink.
You know what? I knew at some point inevitably this would be brought up.
Oh, do I
keep lotion immediately next to my bed? Yeah,
it's a smart move.
Hey,
man.
I got lotion, right? It's just
Yeah, I mean, gotta stay hydrated, bro.
I'm
Gotta keep your skin healthy.
Pointing it out.
Yeah.
Oh, it's not for my skin.
Oh, cool. No further questions from me.
Yeah, I'm good with that. I'm good. We've also got Lanson. You've heard his voice a couple times peeking through.
Hello,
Lanson Lappin.
Hello, it's me.
Yeah. Also in a house. Less pink.
In a house. Not
Show us
pink.
your lotion. Show us your lotion.
Where's your lotion, Lanson?
Ooh, good question.
An audio
water is often described as the lotion for your internal organs. So the lotion is motion, and you either put it on your skin or you get the hose again, as my granddad used to say.
That's a good quote from your granddad.
Yeah, tell us another thing. Your granddad has so many famous quotes. What's another one of his famous quotes, Lanson?
It's a trap.
That is one of my favorites. Famously said, like just before the lotion bit.
Yeah, exactly. Or like, when we tried to be like, Grandpa, we're having a family reunion. He's like, it's a trap. You're trying to get me into a nursing home. We're like, yes, but
he's a wise man. He's a wise man.
He
ironically,
was.
he was always. Ironically, he never saw the intervention coming. You totally sideswiped him with that one.
Oh yeah, you definitely had to sweep the leg. We had been practicing for a couple of years.
Damn near killed him when he swept his leg.
I wish I had, but I didn't. Life clung to him like a disease, my friend.
All right. Well, if this is your first time tuning in, this is a horror movie podcast. We pick a horror movie. We all watch it. We all kind of live in different places. Me and Lanson are literally down the road, but Luke's in Tennessee or Canada. I don't remember.
Are you doxing me right now? You doxing me?
I don't know where he's at, but we all watch the movie. We get together and we talk about the survivability of that movie. Because in horror movies, you're sitting with your friends. You're like, I could survive that better. And then the character and your friend's like, yeah, me too. Well, we're doing that, and we're deciding if three of the most this is a tough day for me. Averagest of Joes could survive your average horror movie. So this week is exciting. This is a movie I didn't choose, but I've been eager to talk about. I'm always eager to bring it up whenever anyone ever brings up horror movies because I think it's awesome. The movie is Malignant. I had to think about it and not say Maleficent. Malignant is the name of the movie chosen by Luke. So I'm going to turn some time over to Luke. He's going to tell us a little bit about why he chose the movie, and maybe give us just a little, kind of back of the Blu-ray, what the movie's about.
Sure. Yeah, so I'm really excited to talk about Malignant today just because I think the last go-around when I had a chance to pick, I wanted to go back in time a little bit, and I wanted to look at the giallo movement in film, which was sort of a film movement. It was based out of Italy, which really heavily inspired the horror genre throughout the 80s and 90s. It really inspired like slashers in general and the slasher craze that happened over here in the US. And I was just really keen to see like what that give just a good example of what that genre was all about. And it felt only fair that I take a movie that was like firmly set in the giallo era, a very famous giallo film. We did Deep Red. And then for my next choice, I felt like we should look at like what the modern equivalent of a giallo film is. And this film I was really excited to talk about because it was sort of presented as a modern like tip of the hat to giallo. Like if a giallo was made in the modern day, what would it be like? That was sort of the basis of this movie. And I think the crazy thing is, now that I've had the chance to explore giallo a bit, both in doing research for the Deep Red episode, watching Deep Red itself, watching a couple of other movies, I really started to find that this movie, just like the DNA of it, is so distinctly giallo. And so I was really excited to take our audience on a little journey and say, like, here's what it was like at the height of its popularity, and here's sort of a version of it now. So that's the big reason I wanted to talk about it. It's also fun to talk about just because it's like such a wild movie. Like, it is weird to the bone. Not Adam Bone, but like it is weird down to the core in a way that I really appreciate. And that's sort of like the giallo quality of it in a way too. I'll try to talk about that more when we talk about what we think of the movie. But if I were to give a basic summary of this movie, something that hopefully intrigues our audience so they go watch it if they haven't seen it yet, is basically a woman starts to have visions of grisly murders, and she must work with the police to try and stop the killer. I think I'm comfortable leaving the summary there. We'll get into we'll get into spoiler territory very quickly because it's hard not to.
With most movies, we usually give a spoiler warning. I think this movie especially, I think we've kept intentionally vague up to this point because it is a movie that is way better if you have no idea what's going on. So yeah, go watch the movie. Watch these movies along with us. We usually tell you what the next movie's going to be at the end of the episode, so it's nice to follow along. I know this is the end of the season, pretty much, so we got a couple more episodes, but yeah, watch along with us if you haven't, and then yeah. Anyways, so let's get into kind of what Luke was saying. Our thoughts on the movie, our general opinions. We'll get into the survivability stuff in a sec, but we want to talk about our general opinions, just say what we liked, what we disliked. We used to do a rating system, but now we don't. So if you want to hear our ratings, then you're going to have to like probably go to a alternate timeline or something when we didn't decide to do that. So let's start with Lanson, and we'll just kind of go around the circle in this room that we're all physically in. Lanson, what was your
circle of trust? Circle of trust, baby.
That's
circle of life. Yeah. What was your opinions of this movie?
Yeah, I like this movie a lot. I think something that tonally for this movie that it has going for it is that it doesn't take itself too seriously. It understands that it is more of that giallo type of movie where it's like ultra violent, fast paced. Some of the dialogue is a little tongue in cheek. It's a little out there, in your face. But overall, I had a lot of fun with this movie. It was definitely the type of movie I haven't seen before, and a twist in a movie that I haven't seen before. So that was a lot of fun. Just crazy chaos and madness by the last like 25 to 30 minutes of the movie. But yeah, no, it's great. It's cool to see James Wan kind of bring it back to horror and get back to his roots. And I thought he did a great job. I don't think this is a movie that you can go in and be like, oh man, is this going to be like this psychological buildup, sort of make me rethink my reality sort of a movie? It's not like that. I found for me, it was more, just having some fun, not taking itself too seriously and just enjoying it. So overall, I liked it.
Awesome. What about you, Luke?
Yeah, I think there's so much that could be said about this movie. I really enjoy this movie as just a really like fun ride. I'm not gonna hold it up and say like the greatest movie you've ever seen, but also like this movie's so good at being what it's trying to be, right? So a little more context, right? We were talking about giallo, and there's just this thing in giallo where it's all about like these gorgeous visuals and these like plots about trying to catch a killer. And I think the funny thing about giallo is like there's kind of this never-ending thread within them where all of the characters in it act human adjacent, but they don't truly act like humans. And for me, that's like the hardest thing to like get right about a giallo movie is it either comes across like and it either makes the movie bad or they just don't do a good like that's a really tough line to walk. And this movie does it so well where like the people in it are so perfectly like human adjacent. Like it's a very cheesy movie. There's a lot of unbelievable crazy stuff going on, but you're just excited to go along for the ride. So I feel like one this like I really appreciate that the spirit of giallo is alive and well in this movie. Two, as we said, this is a James Wan piece. I think something that I will always give a tip of the hat to with James Wan is he's really good at making you look this way and then bringing a scare from over here. And I think this movie might be like the best he's ever been with the misdirects. Every time, every twist and turn in this movie, he has your attention firmly held over here and then hits you from over here. And it's awesome. There's a couple of moments that I hope we get to talk about with a little more detail and I can show some serious love for them. But I think this is like he is masterfully playing on expectations. Even the beginning of this movie, like there's so much of the beginning of this movie that feels like when he was directing it, he's like, I know what you want from a James Wan film. Like, I know that when you see James Wan, you want a Conjuring type film. So the beginning's going to feel a little bit like The Conjuring, and then I'm going to pull the rug out from under you and do something totally different. He, like, I've got nothing but nice things to say about James Wan. Very, very talented director. And this movie is the perfect example of him just subverting expectations at every turn. And I think it's so cool and so much fun. I love that basically he made so much money for Warner Brothers that Warner Brothers just gave him carte blanche with this movie and said, make whatever you want. So he made a super original, super insane movie with a ridiculously high budget that looks gorgeous. Like, I'm excited that this movie exists. I'm a fan of original films, and I'm really excited that James Wan got to a place where they gave him a buttload of money and he made one of the weirdest movies I've ever seen. One of the weirdest, like Hollywood Warner Brothers movies that was released in theaters. I've seen weirder like student films and stuff, but I just love that this movie exists and that somebody gave James Wan a buttload of money to make it. And I hope they make some more because they kind of leave the door open to do some sequels and spinoffs and stuff. So I hope we see a little more in this universe because I mean, we know James Wan can do it. He's launched the Saw movies. He launched the Conjuring universe. Let's get a Malignant universe going. Why not?
I'm down. I am down. Yeah, I like this movie. I think it's a movie, at least for my experience and talking to.
One thing I can say, it's definitely a movie. I think it is a movie.
I think it is a movie, and I think I'm correct in that. All the people I talked to who I saw this movie with had kind of a similar reaction, but the first half of this movie, in my head the whole time, I was like, I don't think this is that good of a movie. And I think it is because it was so cheesy and you go in and like, kind of like Luke said, you're kind of expecting The Conjuring and it's not The Conjuring at all. It's very different, even though there's definitely James Wan style. It's a totally different tone. So, and the way the dialogue is and what's going on, you're like, I don't like, I didn't like this movie for the first half, but this is a movie that if you stick with it and you kind of like trust it, it'll definitely pay off. And by the end, you're like, I get it. Like, I understand why the beginning had to do what it did, or else the ending wouldn't have hit, and it just all came together. I think if I read it as a script, I'd be like, this isn't a good movie. But the vision of the spectacle and the dialogue and just the, I don't know, the insane visuals really paid off. So I liked it. I did have a brother that was like, I just didn't like that movie. And if you're like that, I get it. Like, I totally get it. I'm like, yeah, you know what? I understand if you don't like this movie, which is weird to say, liking it so much, but it is a type of movie that's so weird and it's so cheesy that it's like, yeah, if you didn't have fun with it, like nothing I say is gonna change that. You just have your reaction, and that's what it is. But anyways, I would recommend it. It is gonna be a fun movie to talk about for this podcast, though, because again, we talk about surviving it, and this is kind of a slasher movie. At the beginning, you're like, oh yeah, people are dying. You don't know who it is. But then definitely by the twist at the end, which again, tons of spoilers coming ahead, makes it a little bit more complicated to discuss in this setting. But let's talk about it, because there are two entities. There is an antagonist and a protagonist, and by the end, they are still two entities. There's two different people. So we usually break down the antagonist first, talk about strengths, weaknesses, ways you could potentially beat them. So let's break down the antagonist, who's Gabriel, the God, how do I explain him?
He's described as a teratoma. I guess we
Yeah,
could start there.
the tumorous
Teratoma.
twin that got, I don't know. I guess a teratoma is technically like a tumor that has like body parts, but it's literally a conjoined twin that they share the same brain, but he's kind of Voldemorting on the back of her head, hence my name.
Yeah.
Let's talk about strengths and weaknesses. What does Gabriel got going for him?
Oh man, he's got quite a bit. So yeah, I mean, Gabriel, when he's, like in control of Madison's body, extremely strong. Like we see that, just like
Yeah.
superhero level acrobatics and strength and fighting ability. So that right off the bat is just like a huge hill to try to climb up. As well as he has like control over like electricity and like electronics. Throughout the movie we see him like either if he wants to get through a door or something like that, or like kill somebody. Like there's actually a really cool kill where like he blows up a dude's pacemaker in his chest, and
Yeah.
it's like,
Yeah.
whoa!
So cool.
I know, yeah. So he's definitely got that going for him, where he can like control electronics and electricity, and he can, kind of transmit his voice and his thoughts and stuff like that. So, definitely a 1-2 punch of being like physically a brute, but also having like telekinesis. So, starting off strong is Gabriel.
I mean, does he have telekinesis though, or does he just like mess with electronics? I feel like
Maybe, I don't know. I mean,
hey, Lappin, how about you don't laugh at me, okay? How about when I bring up a valid point, you take it you take it at face value.
This is a yes and podcast, Lansing.
yeah, for sure, man. You're making a really good point on this podcast.
Fine, I'm not renewing my contract next season. You guys are jerks.
Oh, joke's on you, bro. You're getting
Finally
my
broken.
contract.
Oh man, that's gonna be a huge upgrade from what I got this year.
That's right, bro. For the best, because I love you. Getting that money.
Well, I'll get some money. Yeah, so like I don't know, there's a lot of things to, and the more we talk about Gabriel, the weirder it's gonna get. So let's just start right now by saying, like, look, there's not gonna be a way to sugarcoat this. We have to address the fact that he gains power from eating babies. And not like physically, but like it's a plot point in this movie that whenever
I see what you're saying.
Madison, the main girl, tries to get pregnant, he
Yeah,
like
Right.
absorbs the energy from the fetus. She miscarries, and then he gets stronger. So just putting this out here as a possible survival tactic, do you think if we also eat babies, we can build up enough strength to take on Gabriel in close quarters combat?
Oh man, you're really making this a very a very widely accepted conversation, setting us up for success.
Eating babies is I don't see any, like, that's not controversial, I feel like most people are pretty.
I don't think
Nothing
we
wrong.
don't need to like physically put them in our mouths, right? We could just like put our sweaty hands on them and just suck the juices out, right?
Jeez. Oh wow.
Like Mummy style. You remember the Brendan Fraser Mummy? How he like
yeah.
sucks people dry. I think it would be like that.
I'm in. I don't know what Lance's reaction to, but I think
That's a no for me, bro.
Hey, we all survive our horror movies the way we survive our horror movies, Lance.
You know,
So don't
man,
judge.
if you have to become the monster to like survive a horror movie, is it
That's
really
like
worth it?
most of your surviving is becoming the monster.
That's like your favorite
Oh.
catchphrase. Is like, I survived the horror movie, but at what cost?
Yeah. Yeah. You know, that may be me, but you know, eating babies. Not my thing, man.
That's the
Not
line
my
you won't
bag.
cross?
That's a line I won't cross.
All right, all right.
But it's like, but also like, just gonna throw this out there. Like, the dude is dormant for like a really long time,
Yeah.
and he's only able to get enough power to start like coming out again after absorbing the energy of some babies, and then Maddie gets her head smacked by her abusive husband, which like.
Yeah.
Look, here's the thing. Abuse isn't funny, but also like, can we talk about how funny like that scene in a way is funny because he's so obviously like a dirtbag the moment
So
you
over the
see
top.
him.
Yeah, I know.
He's like
Well,
watching
very
like
controversial.
before he says a single word, he has like his feet on the bed wearing like work boots. He's watching UFC and he looks like so disappointed to see his pregnant wife walking through their door.
I know.
That like before he says a single word, you're like, oh man, this guy's a dirtbag.
Guy sucks.
It makes you feel less bad when he gets absolutely torn apart. I think is the real thing. If he's just like, you know what, good job, honey, and then he just dies, like you can't have that.
Yeah, I can't have him be a nice person and then kill him. It's not like
Yeah.
that would make us care about him.
You want to be on the side of the antagonist. That's right. You wanna root for them.
But I suppose like the point I'm trying to make here is like, if Madison had been a normal millennial who had been like, hey, I'm just not gonna have kids. Imagine this guy never would have woken up. He never would have cracked his face out of her skull. What if she had like after the first like and this is not this is not victim shaming, but like there's also a version of this movie where she leaves her husband years before he smacks her against a wall and cracks open her skull. So there's another version of this movie too where that never happens and like Gabriel never wakes up. So like just talking about him, his strengths, his weaknesses, ways to like defeat him, conversations worth having potentially.
Yeah.
Not I'm not gonna play hard into the victim shaming card because it's just not funny. And I only really care at the end of the day about what's funny.
We know. I think a strength that cannot be like the big reveal of this movie is the main character realizing this guy is on the back of her head, which is crazy that he can get away with this without her knowing. That is a pretty big alibi to have another person that is you doing the stuff. I don't know. It's just interesting. Even though he's connected to her, so if she went to jail, he would go to jail too. So it's not like quite a scapegoat, but it is an alibi where it's like, no, I'm this middle-aged woman. I can't, not saying middle-aged women can't, but I just had this traumatic experience. I've been at my house all day. There's nothing in my house. Just don't check the attic. You got.
Don't check.
Don't go up there.
There's nothing there.
Honestly, maybe the funniest, like one of the weirdest parts of this movie for me is when they arrest Madison towards the end, and then Ezekiel calls them on the phone and is like, "I'm the killer." Like, why? like, what? How does that benefit or no, Gabriel, not Ezekiel. I call them Ezekiel.
Who's
Hey,
Ezekiel?
bro,
I was trying
it's
to
all
remember.
good.
But how does that like benefit Gabe at all to call him up and be like, I'm the killer? Like,
It was really me. Yeah.
Maybe he was hoping that if he confessed to being the killer, they would just like let her go. And it would make things easier for him, I guess. I don't know.
He's like, you ever try to make this chick walk backwards? It's so much work. If you can just let her go, that'd be great, man.
I don't want to have to bust out of prison. I'll do it, but I don't.
I will, but I won't like it.
I will, and he does. Boy, oh boy,
yeah.
he does.
He does.
My dude also has a pretty. I think we try to talk about their motivation, and he's got pretty good motivation. I feel like in this movie, I mean, from his perspective of. Sorry, I got people yelling on my road. A bunch of crap heads doing stuff to him when he was a kid in a hospital, and he's getting his revenge. It's
Yeah.
he tried to kill them constantly, so it's pretty. I don't know, but good motivation,
Yeah.
strong motivation. Childhood trauma is a big motivation for a lot of people. To do
Well, yeah.
basically
I mean,
everything.
imagine if you were like 9 years old and some doc carved you up,
Yeah,
shoved
right.
you into somebody else's skull. Yeah, that would suck.
Now that person gets birthday cakes and not you.
I mean, granted, they do a good job of explaining that. What the fuck? Gabriel. I almost said Ezekiel again.
Jeremiah.
Just say Ezekiel, Jeremiah.
Hey,
Hezekiah.
Abinadi. Look, they do a good job of establishing that he's always a dirtbag, because even when they're in the hospital and they're just doing experiments to see if he and Madison can like coexist together, he's like making her try to kill people and like trying to take over her brain and body anyway. So he's like a dirtbag from the beginning, but like
Yeah.
also I kind of get it, You're just a little crab man sticking out the back of your sister. You have the opportunity to take over her mind and body. Your life would probably be better if you took over her mind and body. I'm not saying I'm into the whole like murder thing. I haven't been pushed to that point yet. But in terms of how I feel, like, yeah, if I was a little crab man on the back, I could understand the appeal. And like, my sister will just have to, I'll just wiggle my way back there.
It's a double standard. I feel like she's the cute little girl. He's the ugly crab man. Like, yeah, who are they gonna cut out? The crab man. I also get it.
Yeah,
Oh my
there's a
gosh.
version of this movie where they put Madison to sleep instead and shove her inside of Gabriel's head. So like,
That's a
Double-
lot of. That's a
I read,
lot
like-
to try to chop up and put back in. That's like trying to fit a freaking horse into a doggy door, bro.
Pokemon, yeah.
and it's so funny because earlier today I read a Friedrich Nietzsche quote that was like, when you crush a cockroach, it is considered good. If you were to crush a butterfly, it would be considered bad, meaning that good and bad have aesthetic values assigned to them, which is such a profound point that it's like, oh, like you say the thing just because it's beautiful, not because it's like the right thing to do. Like you have to consider how aesthetics play into morality. Just saying, like they ixnayed the old crab boy because he was ugly. Nah. Hey, justice for crab boy.
Justice for Gabriel.
Justice for Moroni. What was his name?
It was Solomon. I don't know. Who knows?
It was
Oh,
actually
man.
just Saul. He was the guy we better call.
Better call Saul. Oh, that's hilarious. Gabriel becomes a freaking lawyer and is just like the best ever.
He could have lived a good life. People were just, antagonizing him.
Man.
Could have used his mind powers for good.
Could have.
Lanson, you're sighing a lot. Do you got something to say? Any
No, I
points
just
to add
love how
here?
this segment turned into the defending Gabriel. You know how I survived this movie? By giving Gabriel a life. What about
He needed
Gabriel?
a chance. No
He
kid
doesn't
left
need
behind.
to survive. He needs to thrive. Yeah. So,
This whole section is going to be kind of a train wreck anyway, just because
oh yeah, I'm here for it.
his
I'm
whole
not-
deal is ambiguous. So like
Yeah.
Mhm.
breaking him down as a villain and antagonist, like there is not a lot of like hard stances we can take.
Yeah.
In terms of like hard data that we have, we know he eats babies.
He's ugly as shit.
He's ugly as shit. God, I heard a rumor going around that he has a tiny penis, teeny tiny.
Yeah, I could see that.
And I know that like sometimes I want there to be a Bond villain where James Bond's like, "Why are you doing this?" And he's like, "Well, I have a very small penis."
Talk about double standards again, though. Just because he has a small penis, he gets discriminated against. I mean, it's just sad.
What would be really interesting too is if James Bond takes the opportunity to say, "I also have a very small penis."
That'd be
'Cause
the
it's
reveal
like-
of the century.
Because there's that thing, like, I've watched a lot of James Bond movies lately, so this is
Yeah, I saw your Facebook
Mhm.
post. A lot of great
Um,
takes.
but like a really like prevalent thing in the Daniel Craig era Bond is that the villain is always sort of like a reflection of James Bond in a way. So yeah, we do the reveal where the villain has a small penis, but James Bond has a small penis. We see the villain has let himself go down a path where destroying the world is the only thing that makes sense to him anymore. But James Bond goes down a path where he pulls all
You're
kind of
using your
bitches.
pinkies and it's killing.
Yeah, because they have tiny
Yeah.
penises.
I like
Yeah,
the
like-
visual.
we get it.
But like this, you know, this villain's going over and he's like, my penis is tiny. I got to destroy the world. And James Bond is like, my penis is tiny, but I save the world and I get bitches. So like, I like, you know,
It's like that trope where it's like, you and me are not all that different. You know, it's kind of like a,
yeah, it's Robert De Niro and Al Pacino sitting down at the diner in Heat and saying like, you're not so different, you and I. We both got small penises.
You know, brother, if it comes down to you and me, and we have to compare lengths, I think we'll find we have about the same size. Brother. That is correct.
Gay lovers.
Sure.
If I
they're-
remember it,
If
that
they are,
movie.
I don't know.
I think that's how the movie ends.
Yeah, just them for sure.
Warm embrace.
I think the movie ends with them just sucking and fucking in a hotel room. And that's why they call it Heat.
Heat.
Gets,
Oh,
gets
whoa.
heated up towards the end.
Michael, man, you master.
All right. We are way off the rails. Let's get back on, boys. Anything else to say about Gabriel? I think we've
Something as far as a weakness is he is very assured of himself and he has a lot of confidence, which ends up in the
Yeah.
end being a bit of his undoing because rather than, you know, if his objective is doing this, he likes to savor the moment a little too much or savor the kill a little too much rather than just going for it. So I think, you know, using his arrogance against him may be a good way to be able to survive this movie.
he's a cocky boy.
Also, you can for sure just like shoot him. Like all the regular ways you can kill a person, you can.
Oh
you
yeah,
can do
for
that.
sure. Mm-hmm. He's tough to kill,
I-
but not impossible.
I think my favorite part of this movie is like every time somebody goes to shoot him, he just like moves an innocent person between him and the person shooting, so the person ends up shooting like an innocent person instead. It's a brilliant but like very subtle critique of police officers. like when he he is in the prison cell and the cop comes in, realizes everybody in there is dead. And he's like, "Oh crap!" And he like pulls out the gun and starts shooting at her. And she just like moves the other prisoner. He moves the other prisoner in the way. And the cop just like shoots the other prisoner like over and over and over again, even when it's clear he is definitely not hitting Gabriel. Like that whole section of the movie, I rewound that. Like I was watching it this afternoon on a tablet in bed as the filmmakers intended.
Mhm.
And I just kept rewinding that section over and over again because it was making me laugh so hard. The fact that the guy fires off the first shot into a person he did not mean to shoot and then continues to fire just over and over again as Gabriel gets close enough to grab his arm, break it through the bars. Like insane. What were we talking about? Sorry. No, you could definitely like shoot him. Just try to wait for a moment when he's not going to use someone else as a, you know, a bullet monkey.
I guess the thing is too, because he's attached to her, that is a good strength. It, you know, if it to have you connected to an innocent person, so people who know the situation will be less likely to shoot him in the face because you're shooting her in the back of the head. So I think that's a good place to be if you're wanting to avoid retribution from family members, you know.
And I'm gonna say this because we're kind of starting to like branch into talking about the protagonist, but like hats off to Kakoa Shaw because like that guy
Ooh.
has a hard moral line because at the end of the movie he straight shoots Gabriel and Maddie. He knows what the situation is, does not give a fuck. He shoots. and he scores.
Judgment call, man.
Honestly, like, hats off to him that he's like, if this rampage ends with me killing a guilty party and an innocent party, I guess that's what it's going to be.
Yeah. Also, Krakoa is like a superhero in this movie. The dude, like,
What?
What? The greatest. I know. I'm like, that chase scene where he's chasing
Yeah.
Gabriel. It's just like, dude, I love it.
I was talking about how this movie is like the highest level of James Wan subverting our expectations. An expectation he subverted, but I will argue he did not need to, is that classic, if you jump off a building into a garbage can, you'll be safe. Krakoa Shaw does that, but the garbage can's lid is closed, so he just like, like he just eats it and is totally fine. And I was like, James Wan, why?
Don't do this.
Why did that have to happen?
I know. Yeah. It's the only way. Is it though?
Now we're jumping into protagonists. I think it's a good time to bring up that I think because this movie is really goofy and has a lot of tropes, you definitely forgive a lot of really stupid decisions. And the movie also forgives it. For example, what's her face breaking into that abandoned place in the middle of the night, getting some videotapes, and everything's fine, which is interesting because normally in a horror movie, I feel like that kind of thing, you'd be like, well, this is where this person definitely either dies or has a close call, but she just got a little spooked and then left.
Another great subversion of expectations by
Another great
Master
subversion,
James
but also
Wan.
doesn't mean it's not a dumb decision not to go with somebody else or have some sort of plan. So purely the decision of the character, a very stupid decision that I feel like I should have been planned out a little bit better.
Hey, pal, I think that's a smart call.
other
Anyway.
Gonna let that hang in the air. All right.
All right.
I was just trying to be supportive.
No, I feel supported. Thank you.
Boy, Lanson looks like he's actually dying to say something, probably about Krakoa Shaw, and I would love for him to.
Oh, I mean, just gotta love Krakoa. He's
Right?
I mean, the dude is like the Terminator in this movie. He takes so many hits, but just keeps going.
I think his arm gets dislocated at the end, and he's like,
Yeah!
I still gotta end this, and just goes lefty status with his gun. Incredible.
Dude, I know. I'm like, you actually train, bro. Heck yeah. So that's awesome. I do have to say, like, if you're a doctor or a psychologist, don't work at a research hospital. That's where all the shady stuff happens in movies. You don't do that. Maybe you work in just like a children's burn unit or something like that. Something where it's like, you know what, you're doing some good, you're hands-on, but like it always seems like there's somebody doing something in a secret laboratory with kids and they're like, this will never turn out bad. He has the ability to kill people with his mind. What could possibly go wrong?
Also, like, you have to drive to that hospital every day. That hospital that looks like a Transylvanian castle on a cliff. And every time you see it while you're driving to work, you know part of you is like, this is not good.
You're like, I'm making a difference in the world. Yes, but not a good one.
I mean, even the sister, when she drives there for the first time, when she sees it for the first time, do you remember there's like the reaction shot of her looking terrified and going, oh no. Like,
I know, right? Yeah.
People had to drive there every day, and apparently we're like, this is fine and normal. We keep children here, as we should.
Dude, I know. Also, like, if you are a security guard or just a person that's in an emergency situation and there's like this dude that's just killing a lot of people, don't stick your arm like through corners or through the bars of something where it can get snapped. It's like, or hey, I'll just go get some more help.
It's back.
Just like, don't do that thing where it makes your arm have a lot of leverage to just snap that sucker in half, so I don't know.
To be fair, Gabriel doesn't always need the bars, because there's like that lady, I said lady detective, which what a painful thing for, can't believe I said that. there was a female detective towards the end, remember, who almost has the drop on him, and then he
Sure.
like drops down and just friggin' snaps her arms real nasty.
Right. Well, I just mean like if
Don't
there's
be in
like
arm's reach, right?
well, yeah, that's the thing where it's like you know he's coming from one like if he's in an enclosed area and there's one opening, don't like stick your hand into that opening. It's like keep your distance a little bit, you know. But that is a
Yeah.
good point, you know.
Like the aforementioned cop who stuck his hand through the bars to shoot not the person killing people a ridiculous number of times.
I know, yeah.
I want to talk about which was a great scene, but the doctor, administrator, hospital guy got killed in his apartment. The
Mhm.
window opens. He sees footprints that are watery leading to his closet. He goes into his closet. He's like, I don't see anything. He just mops it up and goes about his day.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like I'm out at that point. I'm like, all right, well, I'm calling the cops, you know? Like, that's enough evidence for me to be very concerned. If my window was open, it wasn't open. There are footprints of water leading to my closet. I'm not going into that closet. I'm leaving my room, which he still, you know, the closet was next to his door, so maybe, but yeah, I'm not slowly investigating and turning on and off lights. I'm out of there.
Also, like, back to our point earlier, you worked at a hospital with children. You worked at a hospital that experimented on children, and something weird like that happens in your apartment, and you're like, well, that's odd. Anyway, I'm going to bed. Like,
What has it been, 20 years, and all those kids are adults now and probably have grudges? I don't need to bar my windows. I'm
Probably
good.
I think my favorite line of dialogue is as that guy's like getting ready for bed, right? Like he's on the phone with somebody. He's like, I can't believe somebody would kill so and so. She was such an angel. I mean, except for Simeon, of course, but that was a long time ago. Simeon being the name of the hospital that they worked at. So, like, the moment where he like straight up admits, like, we did some messed up shit back then.
Yeah, right.
It'll definitely never come back to haunt me.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, man, I don't know. I do think it's funny too that like, and this is what I mean by I think there could be a great like Malignant universe. Like, none of the people involved even seem to particularly remember Gabriel, which is crazy. Like, he is such a like, how do you forget that, you know? So there must have been a lot of crazy stuff happening at this hospital that he's just like one of a million crazy things that they worked on while they were there. You could do a spin-off movie for like each room in that freaking hospital.
Talk about
Like
it.
the kid who used to live there. But like, yeah, there's another line where like he calls the first lady and basically says like, I'm gonna come, like he tells her I'm gonna cut out the cancer, which is basically a threat saying I'm gonna come kill you. And the lady doesn't remember who he is. There's the line of dialogue where she says, I'm sorry, who is this? Like while she's on the phone with him. And then like she has to think about it for a while and eventually finds like his file and is like, maybe it's Gabriel? Like so clearly these guys have pissed off a lot of people. First of all, that she got a death threat and she was like, I'm sorry, who is this? Because a lot of people want me dead. But yeah, like he makes like a direct threat to her, like, it's time to cut out the cancer, meaning I'm gonna kill you. Because she famously said, I'm gonna cut out the cancer when she hacked him to bits. And that means nothing to her. Like, she does not remember it at all, which is crazy. So like another thing for the protagonists, right, is like if you did shady shit in the 90s at a children's hospital, like you just got to be prepared for the eventuality that somebody's going to come for you.
You got
And
to
if
bar your
apparently yeah, and if Gabriel was like not significant enough that you remember it when he calls you and threatens you, like you got to be living in a bunker or something. There's got to be a ton of crazy things that are definitely going to try to kill you.
And maybe let it happen because you're probably not a great person, you know.
Yeah, I guess I'm including them as protagonists, but I don't think that's necessarily a hot call on my end. I'm not in favor of them. They're not pro as far as I'm concerned. They're just antagonists.
Here's I think it wasn't intentional. This is a totally different thought. Wasn't intentional in this movie, but it now that I saw it happen, I'm kind of putting like a ooh, if I'm ever in this situation, I'm going to do this. Many movies, someone goes into the police and they explain exactly what happens, and it's like a paranormal thing, and they look like a crazy person. And in most movies, you're like, how do the police ever start believing these people or go along with them? The answer that this movie provided: have a very hot sister and a very horny detective, and they'll check into your stuff. They'll be like, yeah, we'll go look at this random house that you said there was maybe a murder, and push through the door when it's a little bit open without a warrant. That's fine. I'll do it. So if you just have a hot person with you and they're like, please, I believe them, I think you can really convince the police of a lot of things.
Adam, why do you think I take you everywhere I go when we go places in public? Is that cocaine? Have you met my sexy friend Adam? Oh, we're good. That's probably just baking powder, man.
Yeah, it's fun dip. Don't worry about it.
Also, to like distill Kakoa Shaw down to a horny detective, as you put it. Like, this is a guy who has women hitting on him literally everywhere he goes. The CSI girl is literally throwing herself at him. He is like not into it at all. But then he meets Maddie's sister, whose name escapes me, and there's a connection there. I like, that's not fair, man. Come on. They have a real connection.
Okay.
Kakoa could be with anybody, but he's into her. It's not just that he's horny. He's
What do you
horny
think,
for her
Lanson?
mind.
Is he horny
He
or
likes
horny for her
her.
mind? I think we need a tiebreaker here.
I remain on Team Kakoa. So whatever he does, I don't care if he kills somebody. Yeah, he's good.
Wow.
Ride or
okay.
die with my boy Kakoa Shaw.
Way out
To
of
be
the
fair,
spectrum here.
to be fair, the protagonist of the movie, Maddie, who we haven't talked about yet, which is insane, he
Yes.
does try to kill her, and we're still Team Kakoa. So like,
Yeah.
like no bones about it. He tries to kill her,
Well,
but he's kind of justified in doing it, honestly.
yeah, it was a judgment call, and he acted, yeah. What about Maddie? Do we feel like, because she's kind of, as far as she's very much a victim in this movie, meaning most of it is out of her control from the beginning to what Gabriel does to the end, and she eventually is the one who overtakes Gabriel and is the victor over him, which is cool. Do we feel any decisions she made that was questionable? Because I don't know, I'm kind of drawing blanks. I feel like most of the movie she was kind of incapable, and then how she overtook him was very good, where she just was like, oh, it's my mind too. Like, it was a cool paradigm shift realization. Maybe it felt a little oversimplified, but it was still satisfying. Like, I don't know. I feel like she was pretty consistently good, did well.
Mhm.
I don't know.
Yeah, I would definitely agree. I think for a lot of it, it's like, how do you make a decision about something that you're not even aware of, in the sense of like, she really doesn't even remember Gabriel, in the sense of like him being a conjoined twin. Like, she remembers a little bit, but a lot of that is suppressed memory. And then yeah, I mean, it's kind of hard to know what's really reality and what's not when you're having all these visions. So but yeah, I mean, I think it was great of her just to be like, well, if he can do it, I can do it too. If we have the same like biological, attributes, like I can do the same thing. So yeah, I don't know that there's like a decision making process or anything that I would say that she could have done better. But yeah, those are my 2 cents.
Yeah, I agree. I think logically the conclusion of this movie is really spot on, just in like, he's using her body and her mind to do all of the stuff that he does, so it makes sense that that door swings both ways, and for her to turn it on him makes perfect sense. And I think she does a good job throughout like every step of this movie, like, as soon as she realizes like, I'm having visions of of people getting killed and they appear to be coming true, like, she goes to the cops and she helps them out. Maybe the one thing that doesn't add up is how Gabriel literally keeps a chick up in the attic for like days,
Yeah,
and she
no, that's
doesn't
a good
seem to
point.
notice that.
she doesn't yell out and be like, "Help me, somebody!" And Maddie notices. Yeah,
I did want to bring this up as like one of my favorite twists in the movie, though, is when that lady like cuts herself down and tries to escape. The first time I saw that movie, that was literally like the first time in the movie, I literally thought to myself, like, where the hell is like this super mysterious like hideout with the fan in it? I was thinking to myself, where the hell is this like super mystery hideout? And the moment I thought that, she fell through the floor into the living room, and I was like, oh shit! Like,
Yeah.
it was like the perfect
I
payoff
audibly
of me.
gasped. I think that was the moment where you're like, "Okay, this is gonna be a movie." You know, this
Yeah,
is some cookie cutter.
that scene kicked ass. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. Yeah, literally the moment I was going like, where is this? We found out, and I loved it. So yeah, like I don't know. I think she makes a lot of great moves. I think like she's just trying to live her life, and I totally understand like how the events lead to where they lead, and I also understand the action she takes. I think she is maybe the most logical person in the movie. Like no shade to Kakoa. Like, I think he approaches things pretty logically. The sister is like all over the map, doing like is crazy a little bit.
She's everywhere. She's crazy a little bit,
just a little.
Well, I just mean like I. It's kind of hard to like pin down what the deal with the sister is, because again, she lives in that space of like she's human adjacent, which is so fitting for like this genre. So it's kind of funny because like Maddie and Kakoa are both like the most like fleshed out characters, I think, and they feel like the most like full, like the most realistic of the characters we meet. Or at least Kakoa does, until he has that chase scene where he like is full on like Terminator status, I guess. But yeah, like everyone else seems to be in that category of like human adjacent. So like trying to explain their decisions, just like you feel like you just get caught in a loop of like there isn't really a way to explain it, just because they're not really acting like real people.
Sure.
Like
That's a
her
good
being
point.
like, oh, I'm just going to drive out to this seaside hospital for small children, go down to the records room and find some abandoned videotapes. First of all, the shady shit that was happening at that hospital, they would not just have those videotapes casually sitting around.
Oh no, dude,
Like,
they
let's
getting burned.
destroy the evidence. Yeah.
We're getting rid of all of it. We're just
Yeah.
gonna freaking burn the place to the ground.
And again, talking about like human adjacent behavior, like everything I mentioned
Right.
earlier of like the woman on the phone being like, I'm sorry, who is this? When it's clearly like when it's clearly Gabriel, or the guy on the phone being like, who would want to do this to so and so? She was so wonderful, except for those experiments she did on children. like it's just a thing of this movie that everybody's like human adjacent, and the logic is weird. Even the moment where Kakoa talks to the other guy and he's like, hey, did you get finished like rendering that picture? And he's like, oh yeah, it's on your desk. I thought that's why you brought that girl in. And he's like, what? And he like pulls out the picture, and it's not like a digital picture at all. It's not like a CGI'd picture at all. It's just straight up a picture of the main actress.
I know, right?
Just with like bangs, or I guess she has the same haircut, but
yeah.
Look how
every
she
woman
looks.
in this movie has bangs. And I'm
Yeah.
not even just saying that. Every woman in this movie has bangs. If I were to say to you, oh, the girl in this movie with bangs, that would not identify anyone.
Spring to look back. I love bangs.
Yeah, they're fine.
All right.
I'm not taking a hard stance.
Let's
I know you're trying to trick me, Adam. I'm not taking a hard stance on bangs, all right? I'm not falling into this trap.
I mean, given the hard stances that we've been taking, that's
I draw the line at bangs
to not die on, I guess.
Look, we could talk about eating babies, but look, I'm not gonna have an opinion on bangs.
Let's begin at the end here. We've talked in general about the survivability, but what we do at the end is we give ourselves either final boy or final girl status. Final boy status meaning you are you survive most of the movie and then tragically or heroically or stupidly die at the end. Final girl status is surviving the movie, living till I think we had to break it down specifically one episode. I don't remember. Where we're like, yeah, well, once the credits roll, if you die shortly after that, it still counts as final girl status. So if you survive this movie, that's what that is. So we're gonna go around and individually decide, could we personally survive final boy status, final girl status, the movie Malignant? Anyone want to start? I'll give you guys the choice. All right, Luke, you want to start?
I was waiting for it. Adam was so intense. Yeah, I'll kick us off here. I'm going to go ahead and give myself final boy status. I think the only thing required of you to get final boy status in this movie is you just have to be somebody who wasn't directly involved in slicing and dicing Gabriel. I think that's like 90% of the people in this movie. Like most of the people, that the crazy thing is, like, the finale of this movie is a friggin' bloodbath, and most of those people are literally just like bystanders. Like they're just like collateral damage. So yeah, I could survive most of this movie because I'm just gonna go ahead and say I wouldn't experiment on children. I know that's I know I talk a lot about like drawing lines is a dangerous thing, but I'll draw a line on this one. I'm not particularly interested in experimenting on children. I'm more interested in art, culture. If I'm just thinking in terms of like where my interests lie, that's about it.
Well, let me throw you a situation. What if a kid has a Pablo Picasso painting on the back of his head? Would you look into that? If it's like your interest, is what I'm trying to say.
If the back of his head looked like a Pablo Picasso painting,
yeah,
would I track it down and look at this kid like he was an animal in a zoo? Is that the question?
No, I said, would you investigate?
Investigate. What does that mean, Adam? What are we talking about? Investigation. I feel like this is the slippery slope that opened up that hospital. They're like, we're just gonna look into it, man. We're not gonna do nothing bad. We're just gonna see what's what.
Let's just have a look.
You know?
Would I pull up a picture on Wikipedia? Probably.
I'm just saying, you are interested in art. These people were interested in teratomas. Like, what? That doesn't make you better than them, you know?
Adam's really just coming to the defense of this hospital, of Gabriel, this hospital, just like eating babies, you know?
I like the stance of like, well, you have different interests. Doesn't make you inherently better. Maybe he's right. He's not, but you know, maybe.
Ding dong, your opinion's wrong, Adam.
Okay. But all of this to say, like, I personally think final boy status is achievable if you are not directly involved in, cutting out the cancer, as they say a couple of times in this movie. I don't think I'd be directly involved in that. Again, not really just within my line of interest, and being visually within a few feet of it, I think would make me queasy. Burps. But as far as final girl status, gonna go ahead and I'm gonna give it to myself, and I'll let you know how. So, happening just out of frame at the beginning of this movie, a few rooms down from Gabriel and Emily's room, is in fact my room, where I'm being treated for, well, let's just say spectacular telekinetic abilities. Spectacular is a medical term. I don't mean to assign that. Here's the thing. My telekinetic abilities eventually get to a point. These people at the hospital, they can't contain me. I go off on my own for a few years. I live in the wilderness. It's a good life. Alaska is a beautiful place to live. Eventually, I think back to a young girl named Emily, who was always kind of nice to me, unless the creepy tumor on her back told her not to be.
Voldemort
And I think
himself.
Voldemort himself. And I think, you know what? It's time to track her down. Just see how she's doing in life. I find her several years before the events of this movie. See that her husband is a stereotype of a douchebag, and I do what I can to help her escape a bad situation, to help get her back in touch with her sister, her adopted parents, try to mend some bridges there. And, if she does meet another person, get married, I'm in her life. I'm a good, close friend and confidant. And if her babies continue to get eaten, and good old Ezekiel Zeke, if he starts to show his old ugly head, I will be there. And spectacularly enough, I probably just remember from our childhood. I'm like, oh yeah, he used to like stick out the back of your head. He's using your body and your mind. Let's get you trained up, because I've been training out in the wilderness with my telekinetic abilities. I get her trained up to take her mind and body back. Really, I'm an all-around life coach. I come in and I just help her live her best life. I'm just there for her, and we have a beautiful best friendship. And yeah, that's how I survive. I survive by literally just changing her life. The best part of this was me having telekinetic abilities didn't tie into me helping her out at all. I just wanted to have them.
Just a side note, just
It's
kind
good
of
to
a
have.
circumstance. Yeah.
You know, man, you can't just
Not
rely on
everything
your
is
powers.
connected.
Mm-hmm.
And telekinetic abilities, I feel like the cool thing that nobody would think about is like you could literally just like control air to like punch through people. You could literally just do like finger guns. Worst comes to worst, Gabriel's not letting her come back from the edge. I don't have to worry about somebody being held in front of him either, because I'm controlling it,
Oh, I love how this was a whole thing of like we become good friends, but if she doesn't get better,
I'm not going to be squeamish when worse comes to worse.
Imagine the end of that movie, though, right? I'm like cradling her, and I'm like, I'm so sorry, and she's like, you only did what you had to. Yeah,
It's like Will Smith
Lappin.
in that one movie.
It's like Will Smith in I think every movie he's made.
He's always cradling somebody he just killed.
Yeah, and it's like, I'm really sorry about this, and they're like, hey, it's cool, you are a legend. Lanson, I want to know what's going on with you, man. What do you got?
Yes, so I will give myself a final boy status and final girl status.
Oh snap!
And let me tell you what I'm doing here. So, I hear rumblings that there's some shady stuff going down at a Transylvanian hospital in like freaking Seattle. And I'm like, okay, and nobody's looked into this. I'm driving just along and I see it. I'm like, there's not even a map to this thing. Like, I can just see it from the side of the road. So anyway, in addition to being somebody that is a government agent, I am also a skilled surgeon, which I learned in the war. Don't ask me which one; I can't tell you. So I infiltrate this hospital, and I just, I'm going through trying to understand, how many kids we have there, the goings on, like all the entire internal mechanisms of how that whole system works. And I start dismantling it. I find out about Emily, and I say to myself, you know what? I did brain surgery for fun, and there's this great new surgery where you can do brain transplants. So what I do is I take one of these doctors, one of these terrible, terrible people. I cut their brain right out. I scoop it out. Take her brain out, scoop it out. Also cut out Gabriel because he's a lost cause. I mean, sorry, dude. Crab Boy's got to go. We got to serve it up in surf and turf. So anyway, cut out both of their brains. I switch them so that, Emily has a new brain, doesn't have to worry about Gabriel, has a fresh new start. And you may say, well, like, wouldn't she lose her personality? Not so much, because I scoop out the piece of her brain that is her personality, because I'm a brain surgeon and this
Convenient,
is
yeah.
science.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
I put it right back in. So it's kind of like if you would imagine, like when you take Play-Doh, like a big piece of Play-Doh and then a smaller piece of Play-Doh, and you just kind of roll it together. You just gotta, you gotta roll it together. That's a lot what brain tissue is like. You just gotta roll it together, meld it a bit, pat it down a little bit, maybe, I don't know, put some adhesive. Exactly. That's the exact sound as well. So I shake that off a little bit, dry it off, put it back in her skull. We tape it right up, we close her up. She has a perfect life. I get all the kids out of there. I kill all of the other like freaking douchebag doctors. After all the kids are out, I rigged this thing with explosives. So as these kids are getting on the bus, the last bus is leaving, hit the detonator, the thing blows up. Bada bing, bada boom. Kids, they're free to live their lives. Gabriel's gone. So are these doctors. So, that's how it goes.
Wow.
So just to clarify, at the end of the day, your issue with these doctors is they didn't quite take it far enough. Should have just sliced and diced that brain Play-Doh style.
Oh, yeah. Well, amateurs. I mean, like, you know what? Let's just it's kind of like the whole thing. Have you tried turning it off and turning it back on again? Unplug it, plug it back in. Boom.
Hardest
Same thing with the
problem.
brain.
That's a good point. Let's just let her be dead for like 10 minutes, take some paddles to her chest, and see if the crab boy's still there after that.
It'll be fine. Nah, it'll be fine.
I like it. Well, as for myself, I'm going to give myself final boy status. I will not be giving myself final girl status. I will not be surviving this movie. I like keeping it ambiguous exactly what the parameters are surviving, because I feel like everyone does it a little different. In my head, when I think about surviving this movie, I'm like, I am, what's the main chick's name? I'm her. Like the beast is on my back. How am I surviving it? That's how I'm attacking it. I have a teratoma on the back of my head. I know about it. It's there. They do the stuff with the doctors. It's closed up. I forget about it. Boom, head breaks open. I see blood on my pillow, and I'm like, holy crap, my head's bleeding. That's a serious problem. I immediately go to the doctor and I say, doctors, what is this? And they start, looking around, and they're like, dude, your skull is cracked open. And so they start doing surgery, and then they find this teratoma. So it's no longer a secret. They're like, no, you have a sentient being connected to you on the back of your head. This is a real thing. And I'm like, whew, man, I'm glad I figured that out before anything bad happened. Then I get an idea. I go to the producers of the Disney Channel, and I say, I've got a pitch. Have you heard of Hannah Montana? And they say, yes, we have. I say, get this. It's like Hannah Montana, two different personalities, but one is me and one is Gabriel. And they say, that's a great idea. So there's this kind of reality-ish TV show that I'm in where I play, I go to school, I'm with the kids. Yes, I'm like maybe 30, and they're like, but I'm a good actor, so I play this kid.
That's just every Disney Channel movie or show. That's fine.
They're like, that person looks way too old to be with the other kids who look actually their age. But I pull it off. I pull it off. I'm that person by day. At night, I turn into a monster who kills everybody he sees. But this reality show is so good, you could say that it is actually reality. So a lot of deaths are happening IRL, but I'm forking in a ton of money, and the producers are okay with it because they're all corrupt over there. Not to point, I should have made up a company, but over there at this company that you forgot which company it was. So they're okay with it. They're like, if this is making us money, let's do it, man. Let's just do it. And I'm making money. Finally, I get figured out. There's a expose. They're like, this dude is actually killing kids.
He
This is
gets
a big
canceled over it.
problem.
Yeah.
And I get internet canceled. Yeah, I get death threats. I have to quit Twitter for 2 years. It's pretty tragic. It's pretty much the worst thing that happened to me in my life, and I post videos about it every day. And then I say, you know what? If my life is going to be destroyed, I'm destroying Gabriel because he did this to me. So I go to the old abandoned hospital. I sit in the middle, and I I die. I'm trying to think of a good poetic way of how I'm gonna die, but it didn't come to me naturally.
Yeah. You
But
hang yourself from a light fixture like the samurai of old.
that's fitting. And I become one of the ghosts of the creepy abandoned, and that's a great sequel. Is the haunted
Ooh.
abandoned asylum with
So
the
you're,
with the Hannah Montana ghost.
so you're still making money even after you die. You
Yeah,
got the spinoff going.
I have a franchiser's mind. Anything can give you monetary success, and so yeah.
Boom.
So I did die at the end, but if you're making money, are you really dead? Is what I say. I don't know.
So the moment I stop making money, that's when I truly die.
Yes.
Or any sort of
Exactly.
internet hate at all.
Yeah, or getting canceled on
Yeah.
Twitter.
I don't know what's worth, death or getting canceled on Twitter, honestly. What would you rather choose?
That's a great question.
It's the philosophers for years been trying to figure that out one. That's the episode. We have finished it. We have cracked the code. That's Malignant. What did you think? Did you like the movie? Let us know. Luke, where can they let us know?
I don't know.
On
You could,
Twitter, where we're not canceled yet. I don't know.
Send.
Facebook page, I think, right?
Yeah,
Sure. This is an interesting question because obviously underqualified idiocracy media, where all
Got
three
canceled.
of us used
Yeah.
to work, is what started this show. But then it got canceled on Twitter, so we all moved on.
Yep.
Yeah, we kind of have our own banner now, and I forget some of those details if I'm being
I shouldn't have
fully
put you on the
honest.
spot. Honestly, I was like, if I'm gonna roll the dice on who remembers what those handles are, it's gonna be Luke. So, but we offer. Unless Lanson, you remember?
Yes. What you can do, you can send in a letter, send it to Luke's address,
Perfect.
4848 Montgomery Way, Chattanooga, Tennessee.
Getting doxxed all over again.
And yeah, just send it in. Whatever questions you got, he'll read it, and then we'll do something about it. Maybe or maybe not. Maybe we'll just read your stuff and be like, I don't care.
Probably the best way to if this is the wrong email address I'm gonna get, you can check the description. I can put it there too, but I think
Cool.
finalboystatus@gmail.com is our old email address. If you want to reach out to us directly, you can always leave comments and stuff on the YouTube video version of the podcast. If you're watching it there, you can watch it, by the way. So
Yeah, if you're not, come check out our faces.
I think I honestly, since we started recording these with like a visual component, we do a lot more like visual gags. So you are kind of missing out if you don't watch it.
We can see each other, so we play off that a lot.
Yep.
Cool. Great. That's where you can tell us what you think. If you have any movie recommendations, any hot takes, let us know. But yeah, we're also individuals that have our own individual stuff going on. Do you guys have any personal plugs?
Yeah, something really personal and individual to me is Final Boy Status. I do it with a couple friends that I really love, Luke Haueter and Adam Bone. You may not know them; they're pretty great, though. Yes, please. So, yeah, it's a lot of fun. Go ahead wherever you find podcasts, find us, Final Boy Status, and yeah, that's all I got to say about that.
We've got a backlog, we're getting to the end of this season, but if you're just signing on, go back, check it out. We got all three. I know what you did last summers, and it's a wild ride.
Those are the ones that people really need to be checking out. People constantly ask me, but what do you think about I Know What You Did Last Summer? And I'm like, there's a podcast for you.
Every time I bring up the trilogy, everyone always says, that's a trilogy? And I think that shows how good of a trilogy it really is.
How iconic.
I thought it was all just one movie. It just flowed together so well.
Beautifully
like it just
cut together.
Up where the last one left off. There were no differences, especially between the second and third one. Like it was like the same thing.
Continuity was crazy.
Wow. It's like I was there in wherever they filmed the first two.
Out of curiosity, this is a tangent, but did
Yeah.
either of you gentlemen watch the I Know What You Did Last Summer TV show that Amazon Prime made?
Dude, I saw
Oh,
that
no.
was a thing, and I was like, man, I gotta
Made me
watch
laugh.
that sometime, but I haven't.
Yeah. No, me neither.
Okay, I did watch it because I was kind of
Mhm.
like, I don't know. I was like, is this something we should talk about on the podcast? Is it going to be
Sure.
like a new breath of life into this franchise? Spoiler alert, it was not that. It did not breathe new life into the franchise, was canceled like immediately.
Yeah.
On brand.
And
That
yeah,
is
it
the
was
spirit of I Know What You Did Last Summer. To be fair, that is the spirit.
yeah, I mean, it wasn't as bad as the third movie, so I guess it's got that going for it. Am I bummed out that there isn't going to be a season 2? Not remotely. I would every actor in that show, I was like, I feel bad that you're here. With the exception of the main guy, who I discovered was the person who created the show, like adapted it for TV and executive produced it. Apparently it was her son. And like he deserved to be in that dud. What a
Oh, they're gonna sing his praises for a second. No,
No, he's a nepotism baby and he wasn't very talented, and I was mad that he was there. How much of that is a joke? You, the audience, figure it out.
Go check it out, I guess, and let us know what you think. I'll plug myself. I have a Twitch channel.
Oh, I
You can
bet you
find
will.
me at Indie Adam Bones. There might be an underscore, I don't remember, but yeah. I haven't done a ton on it, but I'm gonna. Yeah, I will. So go check out the backlog there.
I mean, yeah, same over here. An easy way to keep up with what I'm doing, because I try to get up to as much stuff as possible, is you can follow me on Twitter. That's at Luke Haueter, LukeHaueter. But that's also just my handle across any place you can find me. If you want to find me on Instagram, that's my handle. You want to find me on TikTok, that's my handle. You want to find my Twitch channel, that's my handle. Recently, I did a very fun stream, and both of these gentlemen were present, where we played some Jackbox games and really goofed off. And that's available to view still on YouTube if you want to go check out my channel there. So yeah, like I get up to stuff. I have fun stuff out there that you can watch, and I would love for you to check it out, and hopefully I would love for you to enjoy it, but obviously I'm not in control of that.
You have to.
If you're like, at the very least, here's what I'll say. If you're going to do it, be nice to me.
Yeah.
I don't care if you hate it. Just don't bring it up.
That's usually how I feel about most things. Like, if you disagree with me, that's fine. Just don't say it, don't speak your mind. Don't express yourself in any way.
Yeah. What's the point of having a platform if I can't immediately silence everybody who immediately disagrees with me?
I do this stuff to be to have yes men tell me you're awesome, Adam. Keep it up. You should get bangs. That kind of stuff.
You're awesome, Adam. Keep it up. You should get bangs.
I think the best part of doing this show is just the amount of executives we have lining up to kiss our butt season after season.
Oh, they're so clingy, dude. It's like, yes, I'll take your money, but no, you can't have all my intellectual content. It's got to stay up here, man.
I only do Final Boy status. Other intellectual property gets to go elsewhere, boys.
Conan O'Brien's got a lock on all this other stuff, man.
Team Coco podcast, baby.
Oh, yeah.
Lanson, you missed out a huge thing when you were plugging your projects and this show, which is you have picked the movie for next week, and you have to let our fine audience know what that is.
Okay, I was like, what did I forget? Oh, no. No, but in the spirit of a new Predator movie having come out, I watched it, Prey. I don't know if you guys have as well.
I haven't yet. I'm so excited, though.
I recommend it. I watched it. I liked it. So it's on Hulu, I believe. So
all I need to know.
Which I felt bad. I won't get too much into it, but it's like the type of movie where I'm like, it deserved a theatrical release. Come on, Disney. What are we doing? But anyway, so in light of that and in the spirit of that, we are going to watch the 1987 movie Predator.
Oh shit.
Yeah, so get ready for an action horror 80s just glory fest. It'll be good. So
I'm excited. I've never seen it.
yes,
And so I want to watch it before I watch Prey. I feel like that'd probably be good. So
yeah, for sure.
Rock and roll. I have seen the movie, and I was actually just thinking to myself, oh, I got to watch that again before I go watch Prey. So now I have an extra excuse to go watch the movie.
Boom.
Yeah, I don't know if it's on any streaming services and where you
Hulu.
can find it.
Yep,
It's on Hulu.
Mhm.
Rock and roll. So, audience out there, if you want
Check it
to
out.
watch the movies along with us, go check it out. This is one I highly recommend as like another really fun horror movie to kind of just like have a good time with.
cool. Yeah. Anyways, we're signing out. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time, guys.